happening, family? And welcome to the podcast In the Black of My Mind. I'm your host, Al Thomas. So settle in, enjoy the ride with us. Please do me a favor and go down to the bottom of the screen and click on like, comment, subscribe, and share this. I mean, tell everybody about it. How many bodies? Everybody's. Tell everybody about the podcast, please. Our guest today is a gifted individual. She's a producer, a composer, a solo artist with one of the most beautiful voices in the business. She's written for and produced and toured with the likes of Chaka Khan, Freddie Jackson, SWV, Melba Moore, Najee, Jonathan Butler, Roberta Flack, Smokey Robinson, Mick Jagger, Daryl Hall, Tom Jones, and Marion Meadows, to name just a few. Welcome to the podcast, Miss Janice Dempsey.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to do it.
That was great. Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you. It's good to
thank you.
be here in the black of my
Cool.
mind. I like
Okay.
that.
Thank you. Where were you born?
I was born in the Bronx, New York.
In the Bronx.
The
Okay,
only
break it down.
the only place where there's a the before its name. The
Exactly.
Bronx.
The Bronx.
Nobody says Bronx. It's the
No,
Bronx.
exactly. Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought
In the
about that, but that's
Bronx.
true. That's true. Born and raised there?
hmm
Cool. And
No, actually, I just lived the first few years of my life in New York, and by the time I was, I'd say, 5 or 6,
mhm.
we relocated to Connecticut. First
Okay.
to like the Meriden area, and then finally settling in Bridgeport.
Okay. So you went to
hmm
public schools in Bridgeport.
Yes. Go
Cool.
Roosevelt. What was that? The Roosevelt Lions and Bassick. We kept that
Bassett.
Lion spirit going.
Okay.
Bassick
Okay.
High.
Mm.
And yeah, I love those years.
Yeah,
Those were some of my most fond and memorable years. Like
nice.
high school. After high school, life got serious.
Oh yeah.
It just
It got
gets
real.
serious, you know.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it gets real,
It got
and it's been
real
real
and
ever
real
since.
fast.
But I still try to keep that team spirit, lion spirit. So.
mm. So you got into music in school? You sang and any of that stuff in school?
Oh, sure, absolutely. I sang in schools, I sang in the churches, and
Mm.
I really started singing in church
In church.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
at about 5 years old,
Oh wow.
shortly after we moved to Connecticut. Yeah, I was known as Little Janice, the gospel singing baby.
Oh
And
wow.
I opened up for the likes of the Five Blind Boys of Alabama, Shirley
Mm-hmm.
Caesar, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
gospel artists from back in the day,
Oh wow.
and sang at churches all up and down the East Coast,
Okay.
in Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, so forth. So that's where I got my start um, in the
Brothers and
church.
sisters.
And then when I
Brothers
got
and
to school,
sisters.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. You. I
I'm sorry.
interrupted you. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
That's okay. Go ahead.
No, I said you have brothers and sisters. I know of one brother that plays guitar.
All right, that's Greg. I actually I have 3 brothers, and sad to say that one of my brothers, Albert,
Mm.
passed away January 31st of this year, and we're actually having his
Mm.
memorial. Excuse me, this Saturday, um, April 27th, in Pennsylvania. Um, though we are blood brothers and sisters, same mother and father, I ended
Mm.
up being raised by my great aunt in Connecticut. Um,
Oh, okay.
um, when I moved to Connecticut, my parents hadn't married yet. They eventually married and had my brothers, Greg and Albert.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were raised in Pennsylvania and I in Connecticut. But we still kept a close contact and a family bond throughout the years. I would
Okay.
go back and forth for the holidays. We would go on trips together. So we were still raised as a family, though, apart.
Mm. Now I know one of your brothers
And I have
plays.
another
I'm sorry.
brother. I'm sorry. I have
No,
another
go
brother
right
that's a
ahead.
pastor of a church. And I have another brother, Jeremiah, who's a pastor of a church in Birmingham, Alabama,
Oh wow.
and a sister, um, yeah, that we just found out about, who's in Charleston, South Carolina. Um,
Mm.
we found her out through going to through ancestry.com and found her down there. So we have a beautiful sister
Wow.
named Grace down there, and Beverly, who's in Pennsylvania today. Hmm.
Okay. Now I know one brother plays guitar. Are any of the other siblings involved in music at all, or the arts?
Everyone except Beverly, who's the nurse,
Mm.
my sister Beverly. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
else is. Al was an amazing singer
Oh
and
wow.
and writer. You can find his stuff on YouTube, and if you look under the group How To, HOWE2, you'll find
Mm-hmm.
stuff. A lot of music from him from back when they first started, really as a rock band. They started as a Van Halen cover band, and then they branched off and merged into doing their own original stuff. Greg
Mm.
went his own way. He started touring with Michael Jackson and Christina Aguilera
Oh wow.
and a bunch of people and a bunch of other people. And then he's had a deal with various labels for years, so he tours all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
Al got more into the spiritual side of things. So yeah, and then
Okay.
my brother Jeremiah, who's the pastor down in Birmingham, he's been playing the piano and that Hammond organ like nobody's business since he was a
Wow.
child.
Wow.
and,
Wow.
and you can see him. He has a podcast every Sunday from his church. But he's
Okay.
from Refuge Temple down in Harlem, where he was raised, and under the direction of Bishop Bonner. So he's got that real soul sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost style of playing. And
Okay.
then my sister Grace, who we just found, she's been a music teacher all these years. We didn't even
Oh
know her,
wow.
but she
Yeah.
plays
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
piano beautifully. And she just retired actually. Well, she did not even really retire, but I think from the school system. But she's a beautiful pianist. So
Hmm.
God knew. So
Yeah. Right. It's in the blood. It's in the blood.
yeah, in the blood. It's in the blood. Hmm.
Wow. Do you play any instruments?
I play piano enough to write some,
Okay. Okay.
but really want the song to come alive. I hire the professionals.
Oh, I
But
hear
I
you.
can play enough to give you the idea.
Okay. Just enough to be dangerous. I got you. Not that your
Well,
voice isn't
yeah.
isn't an instrument, because you gotta. As I said before, you got a gift for real.
Thank you
You
so much. I really, really appreciate that.
please, I just call it like I see it for real. You performed in
Thank
local
you.
bands
And
and
happy
stuff.
Earth Day to you.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot
Huh?
that today. I forgot that today's Earth
Happy
Day.
Earth Day.
Yeah, yeah. Same to you.
Yeah.
So I was asking if you
Thank you.
you performed in local bands and things of that nature when you were coming up.
I did. I was in college. I was in the jazz band. I went to college there for a couple of years at the University of Bridgeport, and I was in the
Okay.
jazz band there. And in that
Hmm.
band was Dave Weckl, the drummer,
Oh
Fred
yeah, yeah.
Victor, who's been with Average White Band and stuff. He was
Mm.
one of the
Hmm.
sax players.
Hmm.
Um, who else? A few great players were in that band, and the offshoot of that band became a band called Night Sprite, and it was Dave Weckl, Paul Adamy, um, Andy. I can't remember. Anyway, it was a fusion band,
Mm.
and I would go to college during the day, and then we worked a lot as a fusion band in this area from New York up to Mass. I think we used to go up to Vermont, up
Okay.
as far up as Vermont. But it
Mm-hmm.
was an awesome band with awesome players. So yeah, I did that. But
Mm.
when I was very young, I don't know. Do you have you ever heard of Tommy Black?
Tommy,
Tommy
no,
Black. He used to have a
no.
band. Oh wow, this guy was great.
Mm,
When I was in high school, he convinced my mother, who was a Pentecostal pastor, to let me come
mm,
out and sing with him these private parties. But he was something else. He used to be a boxer. He would
mm.
wear all these tight James Brown type clothes. He was great. He was great. But he was
Wow.
the ultimate showman and taught me a lot about, stage presence and stuff like that. So yeah, and then over the years I've made friends, with the people in the music community in that area, in the Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, what have you area.
Mm.
So subsequently, I played with a lot of different musicians and
Right, right.
bands over the years. But I remember one time I said, I just decided that I didn't want to do like clubs anymore. I knew that
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't something that I wanted to do. I knew there was
Mm.
a need and that people enjoy. You need local talent. But at some point, I just didn't want to do it anymore. Kind of stopped. But every once in a while, I will if the right thing comes along and I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've performed with many different bands and over the years.
Right. When did you know that you're going to make music your career?
I don't know if I ever like had a conscious time when
Mm.
I said I'm going to make music. It just sort of evolved that way.
Kind of organically.
I really wanted to be a yeah, I did.
Mm.
I Opportunities would come and I would take them, and before you knew it, I was doing it professionally. That's kind of really
Mm.
how it happened. It was just
Mm.
by saying yes, and
Okay.
because one opportunity leads to another and leads to another, and it eventually leads you to your destiny. To
Right,
the
right,
things
right.
that you say yes to. So I was
Mm.
just very careful with the things that I said yes to,
Mm.
and I think that's what did it. I don't, but there was never like a time when I did I because I didn't know.
Mm. So if you were to look
I loved
back,
it, but I loved children too. So
mm, mm, if you were to look back, how would you say? How did you get your? How would you say you got your start professionally?
my mother, my mother gave instilled in me. She believed in me.
Mm.
She believed in me. I believed in me. I just believed that whatever she said, pretty
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
much. But how did I get my start professionally? It was during that time. Like I was playing in that band Night Sprite, and I said, and I had done a single with Michael Brown for Portrait Records when I
Mm-hmm.
was in high school. Do you know Michael Brown?
I do.
He's a pianist and singer, gospel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he and I had done one single for Portrait Records, which was a subsidiary of CBS, and um, and it was released, and mainly in Europe, and that was really what it didn't get much traction here. But however, there were two people that were working there. Keith Diamond was one producer. He was a music executive and a producer at the label at CBS at the time, but then he just went on, just became a producer. And at the time, after he left them, he became an independent producer. He had produced like Billy Ocean and Mick Jagger and
Oh
Sheena
wow.
Easton, and he was really hot at the time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people. And I get a call one day, and he says, "My name is Keith Diamond." He said, "You don't know me, but I was blah blah, whatever his position is at Portrait Records when you released that duet with Michael. I really loved your voice in that record, and I'm producing and a couple things. He said, but I'm doing an album for Melba Moore, and I think you would go to demo the songs for her to learn,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, sure, I'll do that. So at the time, he was recording at Debbie Allen's house. They lived in Mount Vernon at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
when Wilford, his Keith's partner, was married to Debbie at the time. So I went there, recorded these songs from Melba, and I did all the backgrounds and the leads and so forth. So when it was time for Melba to go on the road to promote the album, when after it was released, her management company asked me if I would wanted to go out with her on the road. I knew all the parts. Actually, some I had actually helped arrange to go out, on the road for the tour, at least the first leg of the tour. So I did. And then time, Freddie Jackson was the other background singer. So it was me and Freddie
Wow. Yeah.
singing
Wow.
background for Melba.
Mm-hmm.
And he would come out, she would do a wardrobe change, and he would come out and sing Good Morning Heartache and tear the house
Oh.
down. He would
Wow. Wow.
he would tear the house down. So soon after he got a deal. And then when he went on the road, he brought me with him. So
Okay.
Melba's tour was kind of over. Like one tour just led to another and to another and to another. And then I said, you know what? I don't want to do this no more either. So,
Wow.
so, but it was all just a wonderful experience. Every single
Oh,
thing,
I'm
every
sure.
single
I'm sure.
part of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've played probably 1,000 gigs, all over the place, all up and down the East Coast, and over in. I spent a year in Korea, so I played over there, and I did a jazz club over in Senegal, but I've never been on tour.
Mm,
And so I keep saying that that's my next move.
mm.
And so, yeah, I've talked to a few people and said, well, it's not what it's all cracked up to be. And I understand that. But I got to figure it out for myself. Just I'm not looking to, like for the rest of
I
my
know
life
some
to be
people who have
doing
been
it.
in tour on tour their whole. I know people who have been on tour for their whole life.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
For 20,
Yeah,
30 years.
yeah.
That's what they do.
I just want one. That's it.
Some aspects
I'll be
of
good.
it is really good. I would have never seen, yeah, I would have never seen as much of the country or been to
Right,
some other countries
right,
on
right,
my
right.
had it not been for touring. So I've been to probably every state, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
minus 7 or 8, but which I don't want to go to. um,
Right, right.
but yeah, and that's a very rewarding experience and
Hmm.
very educational. You learn a lot about the world when you travel.
Oh,
When you get a
definitely.
chance
Definitely.
to feel alive and meet the people and experience the culture or the experiences. You get a broader view of the world by going there. So touring
Right.
is a way to do that.
Hmm. Gary Bird used to say all the time, life is the ultimate trip once you learn to experience it. Because in the end, experience is the
That's
best
right.
teacher.
Yeah,
Experience
that's
is the best
right.
teacher.
You
Yeah.
got to go out there and live it.
Yeah.
You got to go out
Yeah.
there and live it. You really do.
Right.
While you have the energy,
Right.
it comes to a point. I look at Trump and Biden and all these people that actually run the country.
Mm.
All I want to do is lay in bed. I just want to have some food handy
Mm. Yeah. No,
and
I'm
just
not
chill
understanding it.
out. Now I got my puppy, but my puppy got me up and out, and go out when I
Okay.
have to.
Right.
And I have to a lot. So the time that I spend at home, I really
Mm.
cherish it
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
and enjoy that time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, it's a power thing with those guys, so, I'm not tripping like that. I don't need to be powerful. I think that we're powerful within
Yeah, that's a lot
ourselves
of
and
energy,
stuff.
though.
Oh, truly,
Yes,
truly.
yes. It takes a lot
Now,
of energy.
no, please, I probably would have the energy to do it, but I don't want to do something. I mean, I look at, for instance, Obama, and that 8 years that he spent in the office, it aged him. It really
Yeah,
aged him.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. He was in there. He was in the den of lions.
Ooh, was he? Oh my goodness. Mm.
But he survived. He came out unscathed. Just a little salt and
Yeah,
pepper. Just a little salt
yeah,
in the pepper.
yeah.
That's okay.
Any
Hmm.
memorable tour moments?
Hmm. Memorable tour moments. I think that the most memorable tour moments for me happened over and over again. And that was the moment Freddie Jackson would close his show with "Rock Me Tonight." Da, 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 da. As soon as that thing would come on, women would rush the stage in
Really?
every city. They were pretty contained. They were pretty contained, throughout the most of the concert for the most part,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But every time, as soon as that, da, 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 hey girl, in a long time no see. I mean, that never ceased to amaze me. So yeah, that moment was probably the memorable moment. Other than that, um, no, every experience was great. Every
Mm,
experience was really great.
mm.
The European tour with Daryl Hall was really great. The different
Oh.
cultures there and the way that R&B music I learned was so respected and revered, you
Mm-hmm,
know,
mm-hmm,
by the Europeans was really eye opening for me, and I enjoyed many parts of Europe.
mm-hmm.
And I've considered moving there, but I'd rather somewhere warm.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure.
If I
I'm that
move.
way too.
Hmm.
Give me the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Um, I got some rapid fire questions to ask you. Um, what are your hobbies?
I like to read.
Mm-hmm,
I love to play tennis. Those are good hobbies.
mm-hmm,
Writing, I would call that a hobby, but it's also,
mm-hmm,
kind of my livelihood. But I write a lot of stuff that I don't record. They're not even songs. They're not written for that.
mm-hmm.
Um, I like to travel. I do.
Mm.
I like
Yeah.
to get away. I like to chill when I'm home, but I like to go and see new places, explore the world.
Mm. Do you
And I guess
have a
cooking,
preference?
you could call
Oh, and
cooking
cooking.
a hobby, but you have to eat.
You got to eat. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
And
got
I
skills in
fancy
the kitchen?
myself a pretty good chef.
Okay.
Yes, I
All
do.
right.
I really do.
All right. All right.
Uh-huh. I'll
Um.
have to show you sometime. Well, I'll have you over. The weather's getting nice. I was thinking
Right.
about
Right. Right.
giving a little party or something up here, like in July.
Okay.
I'll let you know. I'll do the cooking.
Please. Please do. Um. Was it? I was gonna.
We'll
Oh.
do.
If you had to choose between the three, which one would you choose? Performing, writing, or recording?
Writing.
Writing. Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um.
Because if you write good enough, I mean, somebody will record it.
All right. Right.
If it's good enough,
And
right?
they'll ask you to
And
perform it. So.
uh, and somebody will perform it.
Right. 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 What is the greatest accomplishment of your life?
Um, I think seeing my family all intact at
Mm.
this juncture in life
Mm-hmm.
and enjoying that. I
Right,
think
right,
that's
right,
been my greatest success and helping to be a part of that, of keeping it
right, right,
intact.
right. Yeah, no, that's a blessing. So, what's on your bucket list?
I don't know. That's sort of like the question of when did you know you made the decision, what do I want to do? I
Mm-hmm.
just want to be able to get up and do what I want to do.
Mm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned earlier, I'd really like to be able to live at least part of the time in a really nice warm brown climate,
Mm.
with
Mm-hmm.
water, and because that's really my natural element where I feel the best.
Mm.
At
We.
the age of my
Mm-hmm.
life, I want to be in a place where I feel the best. I don't always feel that way in this country.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't always feel relaxed and free in the sun and love.
Mm.
I spent some time in Jamaica and in the U.S. Virgin Islands over the past
Mm-hmm.
year or so, and just the difference in the warmth of the people
Oh,
and the way
definitely,
you feel.
definitely.
When you're
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
it's such a difference. So my
Truly.
bucket list at this juncture in my life is to be able to spend at least some of my time in that environment because I think that
Mm.
would be best for my soul. And I think by doing that, if I continue to write, and my other bucket list is to finally finish my book, which I've been
Oh.
writing for a few years now. But then we get
Mm-hmm.
interrupted. But the thing about it is, if it weren't for certain things that happened over the past few years, the book wouldn't be as amazing as it would be.
I'm
Certain things
sure.
obviously had to happen, really,
Right. Right.
to
Right.
uh, to so to finish the book would be is on my bucket list, and I think that that will help in a lot of areas. You know,
Mm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. And to just be around love and people that you love.
Mm-hmm.
That's my bucket list. And
Cool.
family. But
Yeah.
as
Oh, yeah.
far as
Yeah.
achievements, I believe continue to do whatever it is that you do, it will find its way to where it's supposed to go,
Mm.
as long as you do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So I'm
Right.
going to just keep doing what I do.
Right.
And my bucket list is that I make the right decisions,
Mm.
as I
Mm-hmm.
go through
Mm-hmm.
life. This
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting because the family we've spent a lot of time in Jamaica and we love it. We love the Caribbean, period. But I remember I was sick leaving here about 6 years ago. I had Lyme disease and went down to the Dominican Republic
Mm-hmm.
and got in that salt water, that them breezes and that sand and the
Mm-hmm.
sun, and it just took everything. I was feeling bad when I left here, and I got down there and I felt all that stuff just lifted off of me. And what's real interesting is when I flew back here and got to Kennedy, it's like I put it back on again. Got sick again and didn't feel well.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole time I was in the DR, I was good. Yeah. So no,
Yeah.
I agree with
Yeah.
you.
There's
Yeah.
something this is undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
undeniable. It's healing.
Mm-hmm.
It's healing.
Definitely. What skill would you most like to learn?
Hmm. Painting, art,
Okay.
like,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be
yeah.
able to paint and draw. I'm not very good at that.
That would be two of us. No, that's not. It's not. It's not a good look. Truly, not a good look.
Yeah, it's not.
What makes you unique?
Hmm.
And you truly are.
The same thing that it makes everybody else unique.
No, because some people are unique for different reasons and stuff, But I mean, I'm I don't know whether it's that fire, it's that voice, it's that the mindset, is it the because of how you were raised, you know, and you are uniquely your own, you know, and I'm just curious if you knew what it was that
And so are
made you
you.
unique.
And
I
so are
I
you. And
I know that I
I
am.
think it's a culmination of all of those things.
Mm,
Yes, we are each a culmination of all of those things
mm-hmm,
that you just
mm-hmm,
mentioned
mm-hmm,
and more. That's all we are. Our environment. I think that the two most important decisions that you'll ever make in your life is who you marry, who you decide to partner up with, and where you
mm-hmm.
raise your children. So,
Mm.
environment, those formative years,
Oh yeah, yeah,
are very important. I mean,
very.
the household, your
Mm-hmm,
spirituality being introduced to you at a young age
mm-hmm.
is also critical, I believe.
Definitely,
All of those
definitely.
things,
Mm-hmm,
they bring, make us who we are and uniquely different.
mm,
And we are each given certain specific challenges, individual
mm,
challenges that we have to overcome. And usually those challenges become our greatest or greatest um, ways to our destiny, whatever
mm.
those challenges are. If it weren't for the challenges, we have to overcome that.
Right.
So we each have those. Uh, but I think I really my spirituality and being brought up in the church, which I was
Mm,
from an early age. I was just excuse me, saddened to hear that Bishop Plummer had died.
right, right, right,
And he
right.
has a church in Bridgeport, and some of my earliest memories were in that church. And Jonathan Dubose used to go there, and Ernie
Mm-hmm,
Newton, and like all like kids, and everybody was
mm-hmm,
singing, and there was a lot of music, and it was just fun times. But it was a lot of music and a lot of culture and a lot of love and a lot of spirituality and a lot
mm.
of emphasis on the power inside of you. That's what
Right, right.
spirituality is. No matter your denomination or your religious beliefs, it's all about the invisible, and um,
Mm,
and I
mm.
think learning that at an early age
Right,
just
right,
gives
right.
you a certain fortitude and an understanding of things, that there's something greater in me
Mm.
than whatever's going on around here,
Right, right,
and to
right.
walk in that I think is very important.
Mm-hmm,
So it's a combination of all of that. All
mm-hmm,
of that, but it's
mm-hmm.
especially true. I believe my great aunt was who I lovingly call my mother, was the greatest inspiration and and um, and part of my life that helped me to become who I am.
Mm. Which was kind of my next question. Who is your hero?
She is
Mm.
Alma Dempsey. She's my hero.
Okay. What is the most important decision that you've made to date?
The most important decision. Probably moving out of Connecticut.
Hmm.
That was probably the most important decision.
Okay.
Because, like I said, environment, and at the time, that just wasn't working for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was probably
Yeah.
the most important.
Yeah. Um, what's your favorite song?
Whew, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
There's so many great ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of great ones.
Because I'm also going to ask you,
There's a lot of
who
great ones.
who's your favorite group and or singer?
See, that's a tough one too. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's a tough one too, because I like different people for different reasons. You know, I don't know. I love Aretha Franklin,
Mm-hmm.
but I also love Whitney, but I
Mm-hmm.
also love Sade.
Mm.
And so my favorite song, I don't know. It would have to be something by Stevie, I imagine.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
I don't think I have a favorite song. I
Okay.
really don't.
When
I
I
like
was
a lot
asked the
of them.
question, when I was asked the question, I had to I couldn't give you one song. I have to go by genres, you know. Um, if you're talking
Yeah, me
about
too. Me
jazz,
too.
or
I
if you're
would have to
talking
do
about
that.
funk, or if you're talking
Yeah, because
about,
there's so many.
right,
I
right,
mean, there's
right.
some bossa novas that nobody has ever heard of that I just freaking love. I
Oh
just
yeah,
put on
yeah.
repeat, when I'm cleaning. So I mean,
Mm,
that's a really hard question to answer.
right.
It's like, what's your favorite child or something like that, you
Oh,
know?
right.
I don't
Well,
know.
if I had asked you, but what's the favorite song that you wrote? Then that would be like, okay, yeah, no, I couldn't do that to you, but you know, someone else's. Um, Last of the quick hitters is maybe the hardest of all of them. Um, Tell me your life story in one sentence.
Huh. Now, let me think about that. My life
Mm-hmm.
story in one
In one
sentence.
sentence. Mm-hmm.
But God.
Okay. Okay. That's a sentence. You just put an exclamation
Mhm.
on the end of that, and that's a
That's it.
done deal.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get it. Trust. For because it
That's
was
it.
if it were not for the Lord on my side.
I
Hmm.
don't know where I'd be. You don't tell
Exactly.
her.
You know, and I know you got well, at some point hopefully we'll get a chance to read your memoirs, because I'm sure you got stories to tell about the things that you've been through and how you were able to make it out and stuff. It's just um, I can't wait to for the memoirs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I
Well,
know
I can't
with
wait
myself.
for you to read them.
Mm. I know with myself, there's no if not for God, I wouldn't be here, because there was there's some situations that I had no idea how I was going to get out of, or what the deal was, what was going to become, what was going to happen to me, and but every time God has just brought me through. So it's I had to give Him all the praise, honor,
Mm-hmm.
and glory, because it was truly a blessing.
That's it. Yeah. But
Yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
I get it. So listen, how can people contact you on social media?
Well, I'm the real Janice Dempsey at Instagram, and I'm Janice Dempsey on Facebook, and yeah,
Okay.
and I have a website, janicedempsey.com.
Mm-hmm.
All my information is there as well. So,
Good deal. Well, Janice, I'm gonna thank you so much for coming on and being a guest on the podcast. I greatly appreciate it. There's
thank you for
one more
having me.
question.
Here, I want you
Oh,
to say hi
please.
to my puppy. Wait,
Hey,
what?
what's the
What's the
puppy's
question?
name?
Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy.
It's my puppy.
Now, just
That's my
one
puppy.
last question, and that's because there's been a paradigm shift in the music business. What would you say to the young brothers and sisters that are trying to get into the business now? What would you tell them that they should do, or prepared? How should they prepare to face this new music business?
There has been a paradigm shift. It can be for the benefit of all, and not just that, but the whole matter of creating itself has made a shift. I mean, with the introduction of AI and what can be done with it, we have yet to see the opportunities or the ramifications that it can offer. But what I
Right.
would say is this: that stop creating as creators, because AI can do a lot of stuff, but they can't get your soul.
Right.
So the real
Right.
creators will always have a place on the earth, here on earth today, because the no machine can do that.
Right.
So to the artists out there, they have to remember to keep creating, because that will resonate with people, especially with young people, as we move through this shift. As no artificial intelligence can duplicate the soul.
And on that note, thanks again for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Al. I'm sorry about the earlier technical difficulties, and
Oh
it's
no,
been one
no,
of
no,
those
no.
days. But I'm glad we finally were able to sit down and do it.
As am I, and I appreciate you more than you know. This has been another episode of In the Black of My Mind podcast. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Until next week, y'all be blessed.